we are skipping ahead a few years here in time with a 1973 Mercury Cougar two-door hardtop.
And we can see the Cougar has grown over the years, whereas the Mustang would shortly be going downsizing. The Cougar was going the other direction. It was growing to a much more mature Canton.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to our driver here, Chris Gogla, brings us the car today from Canton, Michigan. And yes, you're absolutely right. There came a point here where these cars started to split, and this is, of course, now emissions and fuel mileage regulations are starting to come into place, safety regulations. The insurance companies are catching on to these muscle cars, so you're not seeing the great horsepower wars of a few years earlier. And Mustang gets smaller, and of course will eventually turn into the Mustang 2, which is much smaller than the original Mustang, whereas Cougar goes more upscale in the Thunderbird direction, we'll say, so it gets a little larger, a little longer, but it's still quite beautiful and well proportioned here.
Of course, your base engine was 351 cubic inch V8, and most of them were pretty well optioned out to this model. So, of course, we see this model with vinyl roof, automatic transmission. You see air conditioning much more often on Cougars than many of the lesser models came off.
Now, I believe this car's got the sequential turn signals on the back as well. Like, yeah, I love those. They come and go on the Ford products over the years.
They're mesmerizing when you see them at a stoplight. You know
they are. Many times I've waited longer to red light to watch them go by. Thank you very much.
We're delighted to have a couple more Cougars joining us adjacent to the stage here. In the convertible, 1973 Mercury Cougar XR7 convertible that is proudly driven by Ray Schmidt of Dearborn, Michigan. And across on the white car, that is a 1973 Mercury Cougar two-door hardtop owned by Chris Gogla of Canton, Michigan.
Yeah, so I think I see some Lincoln lines in these cars. In fact, they look a bit like that Continental that we saw over there, right behind the grandstand. So don't turn around because you can't see it over here. And that's a good explanation of what was happening to Cougar, in fact, is that the markets evolved there getting into the 1970s. Mustang, as you might realize, was still pretty big for the 1973 model here, but it will very soon be quite small with the Mustang 2, sort of a rethink. So Mustang kind of went down in size. Cougar went the other way. It went further upscale, I think a little closer to Thunderbird in terms of appointments and styling. And I certainly see that in these cars. They're certainly longer. They look lower as well, particularly with the rakish windshields pointing back there. And the headlights no longer hit, but they're nicely set back there. And that vertical grille, particularly on the Lincoln over there, almost a little Rolls-Royce of the influence in that grille too. And you see a sort of tunnel back on the front car there in the front of the windshield, or a co-rear windshield, which is very nice to look at.
Yes, we certainly see the whatever sporting pretenses the original Cougars had. You know, again, they're going more towards the personal luxury vehicle as we get into the 70s. Just a note on the Cougar convertible here, we could not show you one of those in earlier model years. The convertible did not actually appear as a body style of the Cougar line until 1969. And we should mention too that we had a close look at the Cougar hardtop over there. Wonderful, all original example. Just a beautiful, beautiful time capsule car.
And we should talk too about those earlier Cougars that went through. The Cougar being an upscale car, they didn't mess around with the inline six. You can order a Mustang with a basic cylinder engine. Cougar was all V8, only V8 when introduced. Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a moment, then we're going to switch over to our second one. So we'll just talk about these two here. We have a 1973 Ford Maverick up ahead of us there from Alan Kelly of Livonia, Michigan. And then it's obviously a Mercury Cougar here in the middle, which I know, because the Cougars are in the back. It's came through from the Cougar presentation, right? What's your registration number there? 675. All right. That's our 73 Mercury Cougar two-door hardtop from Chris Gogla. Chris Gogla. We'll get it right eventually, right? Of Canton, Michigan. Boy, oh boy, it's a nice chance, I think, to talk about the contrast between the Cougar and the Maverick here. The Maverick being Ford's import fighter, small cars they're going after here. Cougar had started as a not altogether terribly large car, a little bit larger than the Mustang, but not giant by any means. But as Cougar went along, it sort of upgraded and decided to chase that Thunderbird market. So the car got a little longer, more luxurious, and really, I think, evolved into something equivalent of a Thunderbird or a Cougar Riviera as a personal luxury vehicle. Rather, you see that reflected with that vinyl top trim and plush white leather interior there, and the wire wheel covers as well. Also, so you've got luxury. Maybe a little taste of that Lincoln grill on front there too. Blatantly lifted from Rolls-Royce. And the Maverick up there in the front, which is your economy car, would cost you about $2,400. Production on those 110,000 units more or less that year. And flat or reinforced bumper. Boy, we've been talking about these bumper upgrades and how they've had to be done over here. So you see some of those changes integrated in this Maverick. And Maverick again, quite the Ford import. V8 engine is available in that. About 135 horsepower. And over there, you're looking at about 351 cubic inches as your average. Got an V8, yeah. Full rate about 168 horsepower on that. It's really interesting to see these two cars contrasted like that.
It really is. The Cougar is obviously, as Matt pointed out, reaching for the two-bird market, and by indirection, the Lincoln Continental market, the luxury car market, luxury personal car market in general. One of the things I want to mention about these bumpers is one of the requirements of bumpers in 73 was that the bumper be able to absorb an impact equal of an object equal to the weight of itself, the weight of the car. This particular car had to be able to withstand an impact of 5 miles an hour, not only on the center of the car, like inside, front, and rear, but also at an angle from the corner. So that's one of the reasons why the bumpers on the corner really hang out there in the air, because the engineer needed that much travel to absorb this huge, really huge impact. And I remember seeing some of those impact tests, and that is absolutely shattering. You see this gigantic weight on the engine on the same weight as the car come down, come swinging down, and hit the corner of the car, and the whole car would bounce backwards 3 feet, to that impact. So for the bumper to take that kind of a beating at that angle really requires huge offsets, and that's what we're seeing here, of course, on these 73 cars. This was about the first year that they became actually required by government, and it was federal too. So individual states couldn't write their own laws for them.
Thank you both very much. Thank you twice to the Cougar.
But don't go ramming it into something at 5 miles an hour, please. Please, don't test it.
All right, well, car 667. This is a 1973 Fiat 124 Spider two-door convertible. Brought to us by Byron Fortier. Is that all right, Closer? Thank you. Of Royal Oak, Michigan. Boy, these are fun. We talk